What do we stand for? What principles in life? At the same time, one of my closest friends passed away. People are kind of reluctant to change what they are doing. I organized a lot of tree planting events as part of a movement that I started on Facebook called Eco Warriors. Hello, my green friends from all over Malaysia and those of you that are not so green yet. My name is Matthias Gelber. I come all the way from a small kampung in Germany, and my nickname here in Malaysia is Orang Hijau, Green Man. I love Mother Nature and all the things that we can do to make our planet a greener place. Now how? It starts with you and me. How can we actually go green, make it fun, save money at the same time? That's what we'll be covering every Monday on Hello on 2. Hot green stuff, going hijau all the way in our lives and in our business. See you every Monday morning. Orang Hijau here. Okela, see you then.
The vaccination that we would administer on a boy, as you mentioned earlier.
And then, so now we have the second wave of the dragon babies all going through. They are 12 years old. They're stepping into maturity. That 90% of American women by the age of 50 will be infected by HPV one form or another. Of course, that is not alarming. However, what is alarming, that certain strain of human papillomavirus.
Hi viewers, healthy Malaysians build healthy nations. Be in control for better health because prevention is better than cure. This is Dr. George. Don't miss the hot dog segment every Wednesday on Hello on 2 on TV2. Be healthy and stay healthy.
We hope your Mondays have been greener. Every Monday we bring in a green man.
Every Monday
talk
is green.
We hope we start your week green, and after that, after you walk away from the show, you go away thinking, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that, and be a little more greener.
A little more like our guest, Matthias. Let's welcome him back. Encik Hijau himself, Matthias Gelber, is back. Good morning. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling green. I'm feeling like hugging some
Mr.
trees,
Tree Hugger.
So after planting loads of trees yesterday in Shah Alam, which was great fun, and making a couple of holes with the Chiang, and do some workout. I felt afterwards like, no need to go for the gym.
Right.
Because this was a good workout for Mother Nature.
So tell us about your week. I mean, you had an interesting week. You were talking to us a little bit about that. You had a Healthy Aging Conference?
Oh yeah, I gave a couple of talks this week. I had a really exciting green week. It started off with giving a talk at the Healthy Aging Congress. It was the world's first Healthy Aging Congress. It happened here in Malaysia. And I was asked to talk about the link between indoor air quality and human health. Because often we think about environment, we think about outside, we think about nature. But actually we bring a lot of chemicals into our homes, into our lives. Through the food, through what we drink, through the air we breathe. When I first came to Malaysia, I decided to check the air quality in the place that I was living, because I was kind of wondering, is it very good? And I found out actually that I paid about 400 ringgit for doing an air quality monitoring testing. And the guy who was doing it said, hey, how come, I don't usually have individuals doing it. It's only companies that need to comply with the law and test their air quality. But I said, I want to know, do I live in a healthy home here?
All right.
Because I was suspicious that maybe the air quality was not so good.
It was an apartment or?
It was in an apartment, actually. It was Times Square. I used to live in Times Square.
Okay.
So, and I was somehow, you could hardly open up the window there. So I was kind of wondering, is the air going to be that good here? And but then what I found out was that the air was okela. It was not like top notch, you know. And I started using one of those air purifiers. But at the same time, we checked the air coming from the outside. And you know what? The air inside was much better and healthier than the air coming from the outside.
That's no surprise. That area has a lot of cars.
Yes, a lot of cars.
So that was the realization. There's a lot of pollution in our air, in an inner city environment that we breathe in. and it contains, you know, nitrogen oxides,
Yeah.
sulfur dioxides, and even some volatile organic carbons. That's the stuff that's very smelly when you go in a shopping mall and they're refurbishing the place. So I was identifying in my talk, where does indoor air pollution come from? It might come from your carpets here, especially if you've used some nice glue. So we need to move away from the solvent, the chemical-based, to water-based glues, to water-based paints, and actually try and avoid that kind of toxic materials. Even your furniture. You might get cheap furniture that has been put together with special glues that contains formaldehyde. I actually asked the guy to measure the formaldehyde content as well in my indoor air quality. So that's an environmental issue and it's a health issue. And I think linking in with the discussion you had early on, human health and environment is very closely interrelated. We always talk about save the planet, let's save the planet. But ultimately it's about saving the human race. If we take away the ability of the humans to survive on this planet, let's say we continue to push up the carbon dioxide rate, we are close to 400 parts per million. Before the Industrial Revolution, it was 280 parts per million. Now we are close to 400. That's the highest I read since the last 650,000 years on this planet. There have been natural fluctuations. If you have a big volcano like Mount Pinatubo in the Philippines, you suddenly have huge amounts of CO2 come into the atmosphere. But in the last 10,000 years, we've had a very balanced framework that has given us humans the ability to live as we live now. And this we are pushing up. If that goes up further, 4-meter higher sea levels and the old town of Malacca will be flooded. Now, if that happens, then it will be our properties and the humans that will be at threat. Last week I read there is this island in the Pacific. They are raising money to buy a different island to actually move because they're being flooded.
No more island.
Yeah, so it's the humans, it's our grandchildren that's going to be at stake. So going hijau is not just for the planet, it's for us humans. All the air we breathe in, the water, the food that we eat, if there is contamination in there, then we are damaging ourselves and the planet at the same time.
How do we choose? How do we really find out which of the products that we consume are green, which are not? And what kind of practices are we doing which are green and which are not? How do we certify this?
At the moment, Sirim has already introduced an eco-labeling system. So for some categories, like paints, there is an official eco-label that says, this has been tested, this has been approved. However, sometimes that is quite complicated because you need to collect a lot of data. If we look at the impact of a product from an environmental point of view, you are trying to analyze it from cradle to previously we're talking about cradle to grave until you dispose it. Now we are talking cradle to cradle with the idea we're going to reuse products, we're going to give them a new life again.
Okay.
This scientific method to evaluate the total environmental impact is called life cycle analysis. You're trying to evaluate from the total life cycle, from raw material extraction to final disposal or to re-engineered real life again. So that takes quite some time. It costs a bit of money. So far not so many companies have actually participated in it. Green Tech Corporation, they were here. Dr. Nazli was here 2 weeks ago, and I attended as well this week an MOU signing between them and Green City College about green education, green diplomas, green jobs. And this is an area where they are planning to make a more simpler green tag so that more companies can actually participate, because at the moment on the shelves out there we hardly don't see any products with a green certification. That would make it easier for customers, because if you want to study it yourself, you need to spend quite some time to try and figure out something like that. What does it stand for? Which might be preservatives that might not be so good for your health or so good for the environment when it comes to food. Which things are actually more energy efficient? I mean, when you look at energy efficiency, just look at the consumption. How many watts does your computer consume? My small sub notebook consumes about 10 watts. If you have a desktop, it might be 80 to 100 watts, 10 times higher electricity consumption. So some things you can gauge by their consumption, some things you need a bit more of a green labeling system. This will come in Malaysia. once we have that, it will be easier to look at green procurement for the government, for businesses, because once we have individuals, that's the philosophy behind LOHA's lifestyle of health and sustainability. We buy healthy, we buy green, we change the market demand. But if corporates do that, if the government does that as well, then we will shift the marketplace away from stuff that might not be good for the planet, not be good for our health, to things that are actually doing good. So at the moment, we don't really have the tools yet, but these tools are gonna come. At the moment, we need to use our own way of assessing and identifying what's gonna happen. What you can see there is just actually the picture of the MOU signing last week.
Okay.
And one of the keys there was we actually talked about the emerging green economy. That's one thing that became very clear to me as well this week. A lot of Malaysian parents, when I talk to them, your kids are keen to do something great for the planet. Like I was when I was 16 years old, I finished school, or 18, I was a tree hugger. My dad was worried, my late dad. He was worried that I would not be able to earn money with my passion. So I'm trying to tell Malaysian parents, this is a sunrise economy. Last week, we had Najib here from Green Earth Design Solutions. And he told me when he came back from New Zealand after finishing his degree, he applied for about 10 different jobs as a green building consultant.
Wow.
Every company he applied to invited him for an interview, and he got a job offer from all of them. Isn't that amazing? And when he studied, his dad had exactly the same feeling like my dad. Are you sure this is an industry? This is a subject, green building design, that you're gonna get a job in? Are you really sure it's worth you spending this time on that? And he said his friends who did accountancy and medicine, you know, or other standard studies, you know, for them, it was much harder to get a job than for him. It was like that. So, you know, and that's what I see. I saw statistics that Green Tech Corporation has got. Expected jobs in Malaysia by 2020 related to green technology, about 250,000 jobs.
Wow.
So this is a sunrise industry, not a sunset industry. Even in my kampung in Germany, when I was back 2 weeks ago, and by the way, I've got some sweets for you as well.
Thank you. Now that he said it on air, I know for sure he does.
Hey, let me grab straight away.
Okay, these are green sweets, right?
Oh yes, green sweets, eco-friendly sweets. Here we go.
Oh, thank you.
That's a big pack.
Nice. Thank you,
Yes,
thank you.
yes, yes,
All the way
yes,
from
yes.
Germany.
Yes,
On air.
yes.
I ate mine.
Yeah, I might have another one. Let me search later on. But coming back to my kampung,
Yes.
Yeah.
there is an industrial estate there. It's quite new. There's hardly any company there. But there's one big company now there. And that's a company that didn't exist 6 years ago.
Okay.
Guess what it is? Which industry?
Well, green industry?
Green industry.
Green industry.
Those guys, they produce wind turbines and they sell them to all over the world. And they now employ 700 people.
Oh.
And this is a company that didn't exist 6 years ago. I mean, I think we tagged one another on Facebook, right? You were the MC this week
Yes.
at a launch of a solar
The
plant,
largest
right?
solar plant in
Wow.
Malaysia. Yeah. So that's interesting. As you said, the green industry is picking up speed.
growing up, yeah.
And that plant supposedly supplies energy to 10,000 homes.
Wow.
So well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I never thought that would happen in Malaysia. And the best part about it is that entire farm is built on a former landfill.
Wow. Wow.
So they're not using land that's probably usable for other things.
Yeah,
They're using land
yeah,
that's
yeah.
no longer usable.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that's a good idea because, sometimes when you think about residential housing on former landfills, you're kind of wondering, what is there underneath?
Right.
And sometimes you still have methane coming out because old organic matter, that's actually as well a way of generating biogas.
Yes.
And biogas
They
is
are
being
doing that.
supported by the Malaysian feed-in tariff. The reason why a lot of these renewable energies are coming up in Malaysia is because the government started the feed-in tariff on the 1st of April. There's a certain allocation, meaning if you have renewable energy, you can apply for it. There's limited allocation because it is not that cheap.
Right.
The Tenaga will pay, or this organization, SIDA, will pay those people that have an approved allocation for feeding in electricity into the grid with renewable energy. So you actually get a very high rate for your solar cells if you have been approved under that allocation. That's why it
95
becomes commercially viable. That's why these jobs are cropping up, because the government is putting into practice what it's been talking about to push green technology. So that's a great development in Malaysia.
Okay, so you mentioned about money and it's a sunrise industry, and money is the biggest thing I think that people are looking at. People think that it costs a lot of money. So is that true? And what about the prospects of having a green job or going for a green education these days?
I always say to people, yeah, you buy your organic apple, it costs more.
Yeah.
And some green products cost more because they are the true cost of producing them. When we buy the not so green apple or the not so green vegetables, the fact that pesticides are polluting the local soil and the local river, we are not paying for it. Or the fact that your health is damaged, but you might pay for it through taxpayers' money. Subsidizing the health service that go to people who suffer from those things.
And pay with it with your life.
Yeah, pay with it with your life, even worse. Or, I think while I was in Germany, there was some pesticides were killing fishes in Cameroon Highland, right? People might think, hey, it ain't happening here in Malaysia, but it is. And last night I spoke with my friend, Michelle. She just bought a new car. Even though she paid some money down, her monthly car loan is 1,200 ringgit. I don't have a monthly car loan to pay off because I don't have a car. Now, I acknowledge if you live remotely, and for ladies as well, you know, it's more convenient. For a guy, it's easier to be out there rugged anywhere, you know, get a cab even if it's a remote location. So I acknowledge that. But I'm always saying, because I live as well with the principle less is more, do I really need to buy this? We buy a lot of things we never need. So by following these green and eco-efficient principles, I have a lot more cash in my pocket each month to spend than people who live the normal consumption pattern of life.
Right, that's very
You
interesting.
know, so greener living is cheaper than normal living. But if you just look at the cost of buying organic food, then this perception can come. But if you live holistically green in all aspects, like less is more. Don't buy everything that adverts tell you that the consumption society tells you need. Then you can actually live more cost effectively. Green jobs. As I told you, my late dad thought I was going to be poor all my life by being a tree hugger. And maybe this idea tree hugger percepts I'm out there, I'm just, you know, in the kampong and I don't do anything else but protecting the trees. That's part of what I'm passionate about, protecting the trees and planting the trees. But I'm as well doing green business. I'm creating green jobs. I'm inspiring young people to get a green tech diploma and actually work in an area that they might feel good about because they can make a good contribution. Green jobs are going to grow big time. I saw a book the other day, Green Jobs. It had over 100 examples of green jobs. From being a green building consultant, to being an engineer that helps to put in solar cells, from being an advisor to companies on how they can reduce their energy consumption and waste. I started off my career being an advisor for companies on how to implement environmental management systems, ISO 14001. First time I had finished my master's degree in environmental science, I was looking for a job. I was at an exhibition, I didn't get a job. I was a bit shocked. But 4 years later, one of the guys that I asked for a job, I was with him on stage at a conference. But I was the keynote speaker and he was just doing a little workshop. He was shocked when I reminded him about 4 years ago. So this is an industry where you, even though you start young, you can be one of the pioneers. If you're hungry for information, you can become an expert in this new industry very fast. If you are going into an old and established industry, it's much more difficult to make a name for yourself. And if you add that with being passionate about what you're doing, like the green stuff, I was so hungry, I was so passionate, I was so enthusiastic, and all sorts of doors opened up and I was riding a sunrise wave. ISO 14001, this environmental management standard, was coming up exactly at that time. So suddenly I found myself being seen internationally as one of the top experts. And the first time I ever came to Malaysia was when I was doing here ISO 14001 training in '99 for Panasonic Matsushita. I was still a young guy, below 30, and I was traveling around the world giving talks on how to help companies implement environmental systems. Which other industry can you find that in?
Well, that's amazing. Opening our eyes up to the green industry. Thank you very much, Matthias, for joining us today. It's been very, very different talking to you today. You've talked about something completely different.
Back to basics.
And green jobs, I think, are something that we should be looking out for.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for joining us today.
My
and
pleasure.
Thank you for the sweets.
Great to see you, as always.
Well, there you go, folks. Speaking a little bit more about that solar plant, apparently that sort of plant where waste management is better dealt with, it's going to be opened up all around Negeri Sembilan, making Negeri Sembilan one of the greenest states in Malaysia already. They're using green energy and renewable energy, so you may want to check out more information about Negeri Sembilan. And if you're looking for green jobs, that's the state to go to.
All right. Really interesting stuff today. It's been a pleasure talking to Matthias. He'll be back next week with more stuff to share with you, and also Terence. And we are now taking a break. We have a hot happening segment with Zaleha, who checked out the Teva House contest. We're coming back with wedding photographer Chiang.
Don't go anywhere.
Green of the green.
Green of the green. I know. And you had a good green. That was a lovely watch.
Oh. It's no longer with me, no?
Sad.
I know where
Sad,
you're getting
but
it.
true. All right, Malaysia, welcome back. Stephen and Annie still in the studio.
Be envious. It's no longer with me.
All right, today we're going to be talking with, of course, very famed Matthias Gelber. But with Matthias are two more other people who are joining us to tell us more about the Green City International College, and especially this little badge I'm holding here, which is about the sun bear, the Malayan sun bear, which is the world's smallest bear. Now, to find out more about
So
this, the
cute.
badge, and how you can actually have your ringgit contributing towards the sun bear, we are going to be talking to our guest in the studio. So let's welcome our guest in the studios.
That's right. We have the Green Man, Lohas Country Manager, Matthias Gelber. Welcome to the show. Very good morning.
Good morning to both
Morning.
of you.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see you again.
We also have with us the Program Director of Green City International College. So that's the college we've been mentioning earlier on today, right? Good morning, Mr. Koh Guan Kai.
Good morning.
Hi.
Good morning, Malaysia.
And he's so well dressed, right?
I like the tie.
Yeah, tie is appropriate. Don't worry about it.
All right, thank you.
And of course, also the Director of Green City International College. That's Azmi Mohammed Rusli. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Welcome.
Matthews, let's start with you. Now we showed Earth Hour earlier on. We all observed Earth Hour on the 31st. We hope we did. So how was it for
Yes,
you?
we want to
And in your opinion, how can we instead of just keeping it as a one yearly thing, what can we do to further enhance it?
I decided to celebrate it quietly at home. Everything switched off, and I wanted to see, do I actually see an impact on the city? But since a couple of months, I live in Mount Kiara, and I have to admit, I could hardly see any change,
Right.
which kind of gives me the impression it's mainly hotel.